Welcome everybody to Wonder Miss Podcast, and I appreciate you joining me for my very first intro episode. Today we will just kind of go over what we'll be discussing in the future. I appreciate you all joining me, and I look forward to hearing back from you guys as far as what you think. So today I thought I'll discuss a few things. In particular, what I plan to do going forward. I believe having an open mind when just discussing what's going on in the world is the best approach for any type of podcast, especially the type of podcast that I'm looking to do. And I like to enjoy, just having a laid back environment. So I figured I'll just get started with, something that I particularly find interesting. Um, a lot of people had been talking to me about getting this podcast started, and I kind of laggy gag, and here I am finally, one random evening getting started, and I think this is going to be an exciting journey. A little about myself: I am based out of the United States. I enjoy different cultures, of course. Have a lot of plans for traveling, particularly to Asia. Definitely got to check out Japan. Wouldn't even mind moving there in the future if that's even possible, but definitely want to check it out. I'm also in love with all kinds of foods. Definitely don't mind trying different things perhaps in the future, and even experiment with those experimenting cooking different things. I did manage to cook myself some fried rice for the very first time not too long ago, and I must admit it did turn out pretty good thanks to the advice of some people on YouTube. Um, Made some chicken fried rice with eggs and minced vegetables, and that actually turned out pretty well. I can't complain. But other than that, I would say I'm a pretty fairly simple guy. Um, I don't wouldn't say I'm rich or famous. I wish I was rich, but but that's just more of a dream for the time being. But you never know. Who knows? But going forward, I feel like we can definitely do have some interesting conversations, and we would definitely have different individuals here on the podcast with me to share their thoughts and concerns, and hopefully open up the door to a more um, laid back, well rounded podcast. And so that's what I have plans for going forward. As far as anime concerned, don't let me get started on anime here. I've been watching anime for years, reading manga and whatnot, so I am pretty familiar with a lot of well-known as well as hidden gem shows, and so I hope to share my thoughts and opinions on those shows going forward, and just kind of give voice to those shows that don't get much recognition, as well as getting feedback to just the anime world in general, as far as new reactors and whatnot coming in who are reacting for various reasons. Some to make money, others just to enjoy the show and share their enjoyment with others, and a little mixture of both. YouTube's definitely blowing up nowadays with reactors for different anime, and so you can definitely see where it can get overpopulated with different reactors, and some are very good reactors, while others you can tell that they're just here for the ride and whatnot. So I definitely appreciate those who take the time out to examine the show they're watching and actually be get into the world that the writer and producers are trying to create when they produce a show, a manga. Of course, we have the subs and dubs that have a bit of a discrepancy in terms of what should be watched in. I personally don't have a issue with either or. Typically, I do watch majority in sub because that's when it first comes out. It comes out in Japanese, and of course we need those subtitles. So that's of course what's going to be the most commonly watched in terms of language and contents and whatnot, and that's perfectly fine. Though I won't play out, or I should say, I would not dub. For the simple fact that there are just certain shows that are just better in dub. Um, Dragon Ball Z was something that a lot of people came across by chance as a child and grew up watching in dub. And to be fair, their voice actors put a lot of work and effort in sub, but it just doesn't sound right compared to the dub. I feel like the dub is more realistic with their voices um, and their characters' personalities. And this is, of course, not the case for a lot of other anime, but for certain ones like Dragon Ball Z, Bleach, or Full Metal Alchemist, I definitely will say that the dub is just as good and in certain cases even better than the sub. Now, on the other spectrum of that, you have Gintama, which is sat on, but it's actually a really good comedy and everything else anime. That is one show where you have to watch that in sub. You cannot watch that in dub. It's just terrible. The voice actors are not able to convey the comedic relief that the voice actors in sub are able to do, and it's part of what makes the characters in the show funny and entertaining. And so I would always say, hey, if you're gonna watch this show, you have to watch it in sub. I'm not saying that because I'm one of them sub fanatics. I'm just saying that because it's simply better. I know some people who come into watching anime, they keep hearing always watch sub. Sub is better, and they have this firm line thinking that sub is better, and yet they haven't watched the dub yet, so they really have no reference point to whether or not this is true or not. And I always say, listen to both sides of the stories, and then if you really want to know the truth, then just find out for yourselves. Don't go in with a narrow-minded attitude from the get-go or your perception based off what you have been told, and not just in anime but in anything in general, because if you do that, you are doing yourself the disservice of knowing full well whether or not you really will enjoy something or not. So when you go with anything, with any approach, I definitely would say have an open mind and then form your opinion as you get more information and become more educated on any type of topic or subject. Um, back to pretty much anime in general, One Piece is probably one of my long running favorites just because it's not a primarily action based anime. It's really a long running series that tells a beautiful story. And a lot of people are afraid to even enter into that world because of just the long amount of episodes or chapters that is currently available. In fact, if depending on when you're listening to this right now, we are at chapter 1001 in the manga, and in the anime is at episode 961, I believe. So you can tell that it's no ordinary anime. This isn't some anime that it's just out there for no reason. It's been running for a long time because it's good. And I know some people try to react to this anime, but one thing I will tell you is you can't take bits and clips from this anime and create an AMV and react to that. It doesn't have those type of scenes like Dragon Ball Z where you can take one clip from an episode or two and all of a sudden you have this action clip, because it's not an action anime. It's anime that has romance, emotions, adventure, politics. It has a little of everything mixed into this anime, and it's doing a lot of world building. And because of this, you're not going to be able to make a good big clip of this anime without having contents. If you were to watch certain YouTubers, and I'm not going to call any names, that try to react to certain clips, they have a very hard time enjoying it. And it's simply because they don't have no contents. They are trying to watch something that they don't understand. And so I typically refrain from sharing or recommending bits and clips from other people who haven't watched One Piece, especially people who don't watch anime in general. And you're trying to get them into anime. That's definitely not a good suggestion to use. If you're going to get someone into anime, something that's more easier for them to comprehend would probably be something like Attack on Titan or One Punch Man, where it doesn't require you to have a in-depth content understanding of the norms that typically take place in anime. So those are more better entry animes for people to get into. If you wanted another one, Naruto, of course, that's a longer running anime, and it's a good anime. Would I say it's the best one? Of course not. But it's one of those animes that, a lot of people grew up watching, and it was a story kind of that you kind of wanted to see the completion of, and that's what we got. And it kind of had different life lessons that different people appreciated, that they hold dear in their heart even today. So I think we all can agree, for those who have watched Naruto, that hey, it was a good anime for what it was worth and for its time and whatnot. Of course, there were opportunities for other animes to learn from that and become better, and that's probably what has happened. But for its time and place, it was definitely good. So for that part, give credit for what is due. Um, One Piece, is still ongoing, so you can't really say how I can't really see how it's going to end. In fact, I don't know how many people will be around by the time that actually ends. I know we right now have a time frame for wrapping it up within the next 5 to 6 years, and it's been running for the last 20, going on 22 years. So it is definitely a long running series, and we have lost a lot of people, and for various reasons, who are fans who have not got a chance to complete it, due to sickness or old age, or different reason, accidents and whatnot. So it's kind of sad, but it just goes to show you it is an investment. I do have found respect for those who start One Piece and are still here, because it's not an easy anime to get into. It does kind of start off somewhat slow, but at the same time, it all depends on your frame of mind and what you're expecting out of it. If you're expecting to get this boss character that's going to be fighting, you know, powerhouses from the get go, you're going to get your hopes disappointed right away immediately. Um, the best way to really explain it really is just character development, introductions that you're going to see in the very beginning, which you should expect and be used to if you watch anime in general. But you also have to keep in mind that this is a world building anime. It does build around many characters and different things, without going into much detail, because I don't want to necessarily Well, if you're watching it and you're reading it, you listening to me, you probably already know. But I don't want to say too much to give away too much depending on where you're at in the story. But I think we can speak for other people when I say that you really just have to have an open mind and let the story flow. I will do more episodes that will be entitled specifically for One Piece, and that way you will have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. So if you want to skip the episode due to not being spoiled or not or whatnot, you could. So this particular intro episode, while it's rather long, it's kind of all over the place, but I'm not going to go into details on too much stuff in terms of contents to anything in particular. Um, Other than that, though, I think you know we all can definitely agree on the fact that the last year has put in and taken us through a great deal of change. Um, some of us probably have a more appreciation for what we had and what we do have, and are looking forward to what to do in the future in terms of this going forward. So we definitely can say that we definitely have a long list of to-do lists that we want to do going forward in the future. But we always want to keep in mind what's important and focus on what we plan to do, keeping those goals forefront in our mind, and stick it out to the very end. Where there's a will, there is a way. I truly believe in that. If you want to know the truth, then you will learn that truth. You will find that truth. Looking at the world scene, I think if you really sat back, which if you know, really think about it, you had plenty of time to really sit back and grasp the gravity of what's been going on in the world. I think you can tell now more than any time in history that this isn't normal. And hopefully, you learn from this experience that, life isn't all about going to work, paying bills, eating, drinking, and calling it a day. I would think you would ask yourself the question, what is life really? What is there to offer in life? What is this existence? These type of questions, I will hope now that you have had the time to sit back and smell the roses, that, you will do more thinking to ask yourself, what are you doing with your life at this point in time? You know, is the pathway you're following really the pathway that you set for yourself? And is it just the options that you feel are available to you because of where you live, how you was raised, your traditions, your cultures, you know um, and is it the only pathway that you have access to? I think these are the type of questions you have to ask yourself, especially now facing a situation like this pandemic that we have been undergoing. And it's something that's impacted people internationally. No one has been spared, whether rich or poor, which at the end of the day, it goes to show you that no matter how famous you are, no how wealthy you are, you're still human. And being human, you're going to face human issues that you just can't escape from. So I really hope that people take the time out to really examine you know what's truly important, and if they're doing everything they can to enjoy life the best way possible, not the best way they think is possible. Don't limit your thinking to what you are only aware of, because this is a big world. But also don't forget the past. I think a lot of people have are so focused on their own lives and whatnot that they're not taking in consideration what has happened in the past in the in regards to life, the mistakes that people made in the past and whatnot. You can't learn and progress if you don't learn from the past mistakes of others or from your own past mistakes. You have to take that in consideration and just take in consideration what has changed back then and now, since there's always issues, and some issues are different from the past where others are still the same. You have to ask yourself this question. Don't forget the roots of the foundation of the world and where it all began, just because you don't seem to think it applies to this day and age. You'll be quite surprised to find out that a lot of this stuff may have solutions and answers to questions that you may ask every day if you just simply look and glean from the past knowledge and history that is available, but is collecting dust on the shelves today, perhaps in libraries or in other locations. I think we all were told by our grandparents, and depending on how old you are, your parents, to read books. It'll make you smarter. And to a degree, that's true. Yeah, it will make you smarter, head knowledge. But the true meaning behind reading books really is to apply what you learn, not, retain it and remember it, but to apply it, because that's what makes you wise. And so, are you taking to heart the knowledge that you have gained and learned and actually grasping and understanding what you're reading? Because it's only then that you're able to move forward and do something successful and meaningful. For me, in the knowledge that I have so far accumulated, I realized that, you know, being famous and rich isn't all it's cracked up to be. And I think if you really sat down and had a discussion with perhaps, someone who is rich, they may agree that they don't want to know, they appreciate the fact that they even have the opportunity to be rich, but with being rich comes its own problems and issues, and then of course in the back of their mind, if they're truly honest, you know that most of them are not happy, and some have admitted to this and realized that, yeah, I'm rich now, yeah, I have money, I have everything that I thought I wanted, but no, I'm not happy. And that's when they realize that it's those meaningful relationships, those meaningful acts that they strive to do and work hard for back when they were poor, that truly meant everything to them. But you have to understand what's important now and remember that, so you don't lose yourself. And so, just things to think about. I'm not here trying to preach to anyone or not and like that. It's just something I thought I would, share to open your mind, think outside the box, re-examine yourself, and, don't be molded by the world thinking. You know, take the opportunity to learn about the past in order to understand the future, so that you who are living in the present can move forward. So, something I thought I would just share. It looks like I managed to make a decent sized episode for my first episode. I wouldn't say I talked about anything spectacular or special, but I think I'm doing pretty good. But once again, I appreciate anyone who was able to listen in for the very first podcast, the Wonder Mist podcast. I look forward to sharing more topics and thoughts with you guys going forward. And I hope that, my topics can, you know, be of interest to not just those locally, but those around the world. And perhaps as time goes on and things open back up and I do a little more traveling, I can share my experiences and my thoughts on more stuff going forward. But for now, I think I'll call it a day. I appreciate all of you guys, and you take care. Have a wonderful day.